live.
Oh, nice.
No one's joined. I'll try to stand here until people join and we can ask if,
You can see it?
yeah.
All right. I love this. Everything's sitting way up high. Yeah. Let's not drop your iPad, shall we?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the
Cord
charger
stable.
to stay somewhere.
Do you want a pipe cleaner to wrap it up?
There you go. All right, how are we doing on camera?
This is good. All right, we got 3 people, so
Oh, wow,
let's
sweet.
ask them if they can hear us. Okay.
Yeah, can everybody hear us? We're kind of rigging this to make it work.
I'm not sure if I can see. I can't.
It's not showing you comments.
No, let's see.
All right, well then go to
Live
the
chat.
that should work. Yep, live chat, and then go to the 2.0 development group on Facebook.
Yeah. Hey
And,
Neil, can you hear us?
Yeah,
You're
Neil, can
closer
you
to the
hear us?
microphone.
Type back yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. What do you know? Our rig setup worked.
Woo!
All right.
HP 2.0.
We are getting stuff done.
Yep. Okay. And then Matt Milton said that he can hear us in the
Sweet.
2.0 development group. So glad everybody is joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome to the house.
Yeah.
So this is Alicia,
Hi.
And I'm Michael.
and hopefully everybody knows who I am at this point. I whisper to houses. My name's Nate. We're going to go through an initial consult. So in the 2.0 group, I posted a link this morning to a PDF. You want to go take a look at that. That's the presentation I'm going to be running through. So I'll try and call out what page I'm on as I do this. But the goal for tonight is to show you guys what the first chunk, the first sit-down piece of an initial consult looks like. We aren't going to go into the blower door. We aren't going to go into zonal. We aren't going to go into the infrared. We actually cheated and did that earlier. The goal for tonight is just to see how I do it and make this your own. This is for you guys. And a lot of this grew out. Michael, you've been like, so how do I do this? Like, can I see the details? I was coming to Columbus and like, oh, what if you come here? So here we are.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we kind of decided to do this as a live stream. So hi.
Yeah. Flying by the seat of our pants.
It's the only way I know how to do it. Like
It
Indiana
works.
Jones.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines from that movie is when Marion asks him what's next. He's like, I don't know, honey. I'm just making this up as I go along. So here we are. Okay. So let's see here. I want to make sure I have this up. So we have way too much in the way of device here, but I'm taking notes for the initial because this actually is for real for Michael and Alicia. They want to go through the process, but we're going to record their answers as well. So I'm recording them in a form that is part of becoming the in crowd, basically. But I did share the initial consultation form, which you won't be able to see from that far away, but I've got it up on my old iPad here. And I'm going to be running through this page by page, at least in a second here. So just to kind of set the stage, normally at this point, you would have arrived at the door. The doorbell is answered. You say hello. And you don't want to let people take you to the problem areas of the house. That will add 1 or 2 hours to the initial, and these things already take 3 hours. You do not need to add time to these things. So you walk in the door and you ask, where's a good place to sit down? And here we are. It's the kitchen table in every house, one way or another, or the dining room table. So this is where the action happens. It just is. This is how this process works. This is how the projects get sold. They get sold through the educate and offer options. So lots of education here. So you come in, here we are, we're sitting down, and then I start going through the presentation. So the first page, and Michael, you're at least somewhat familiar with this, so this is more for you, Alicia, than for me, or for Michael. So we're on page 1 out of 15 on that document. So 2.0 group, I posted the link this morning. I will be deleting that, so get it now, because this is not a forever access thing. So the first thing, the first page shows a Venn diagram, and it has 3 different circles. So we've got to figure out what the goals of the project are, what the needs of the house are, and what the budget is to solve all those problems. And in the middle of all those in a Venn diagram is a viable project. So the goal of the initial is to find out, is there a viable project? You're not going to talk solutions. You should have sent an email that said we're not going to talk solutions. So that's a hard rule. And you're going to get tempted, and they're going to tempt you. Avoid it. Just repeat back the rule. Like, remember, we're not going to talk solutions tonight because we change our minds too often once we dig into it. Today's goal is all about figuring out, is there a viable project for the house? Like, that's what we're trying to do, and that's as far as we're going. So that's the first page of that. This on page 2, it has what to expect. So this goes through what we're going to do. So we're going to start by doing some building science education, because I asked both spouses to be there, and one of them is usually here because he or she was told they had to be. So
That's
they are,
me.
yep. So they are the reluctant spouse. You're not particularly reluctant, but
She was on board through the whole thing.
oh yeah. So there's no issues here. But you're usually going to have one partner that's been like, this is great, I read the book, like, I love all this stuff, I watched the videos. The other partner's like, son of a,
Yeah.
why am I here?
Yeah.
So you need to play to that. So we start with building science education, and I will actually tell people that they are the reluctant spouse, and they will usually back up and be like, no, I'm happy to be here. And then it actually changes the tenor of the conversation by saying what you fear. So we start with building science education. We're going to clarify the goals. We're going to ask a bunch of questions to figure out what you guys want to fix about the house. I'm going to take a look at the HVAC, and that's part of figuring out what the house needs. We're going to run a blower door test, which is also part of figuring out what the house needs. Then after that, we're going to sit back down, and we're going to prioritize the goals that have fallen out of this process. So we'll usually end up with 4 to 10 goals, something like that. And we're going to prioritize them on a scale of 1 to 10. Because there's always a budget on projects, and not all the goals can usually fit within a budget. And then speaking of budget, once we prioritize the goals, we'll have a brief no commitments discussion about budget, just to get an idea of what's going on. So just, is there something that might be here? And you gotta love how that keeps going. I need to change that setting. And then the last piece is we'll talk about what the next steps of the process look like, because they don't make sense for everyone, but for some people they do. Okay, so we're gonna move to page 3. So there's the 4 buckets here. So the problems that most people want to solve in their house that we can help with fall into 4 buckets, but there's really only 3 we actually care about. So are there comfort issues in the house? Are there health and safety issues in the house? Are there durability or moisture problems in the house? And then efficiency, it's never a good goal to start with, because as soon as I say efficiency, it's what's the payback?
Right.
And realistically on these projects, the paybacks are 50 to 500 years. We had one a couple months ago where it was like 997 years. Yes.
Let's do it.
Let's go. We're doing it for the payback, baby. We're going to make 0.1% a year. Just think of the compound interest. So efficiency will show up as a natural result of this process. Then we get into, so page 4, this is actually out of order, so you need to switch to page 5. 3 things to control. So in order to achieve all those goals, we need to get control of 3 different things. So we need to control heat flow, airflow, and moisture flow. And we have to control it in 2 ways. So first we have to control it in and out of a house, and then we have to control it inside the house. And the in and out is the most important part. It's the easiest way to think of it is like a boat. If you have a boat that has a bunch of leaks and you're constantly running a bilge pump, if you want to make that boat perform better, you don't change the engine or change the bilge pump. You fix the leaks. So that's what you have to do first, is get the house tight enough so that you can control air, heat, and moisture. And air rules supreme there because heat and moisture move on air. So it's air leakage is the most important thing. So to do that, every house has what we call the 5 priorities of home performance. And it's difficult to overemphasize how important air sealing is. So the first 3 are all air sealing of the 5. And just so we know, that's important. Air seal, air seal, air seal. Then we insulate the house as needed. And then we put the right HVAC in. And occasionally you'll test the house and it will be tight enough and well insulated enough that it's an HVAC problem. But that's 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20. Like that's not the norm. Usually you're like, oh, congratulations. If your boat was or if your house was a boat, it would make the sunken Titanic look seaworthy. So it's important to understand where all that goes. Then, so moving on to page 6, the Gulf and the Sea. So it's important to kind of frame how these projects work. There's this red curve here that goes up quickly and then flattens out. On this chart, the bottom is, this is all kind of theoretical. It's work that you do or money that you spend to solve a problem. And then the vertical axis is what benefits or results do you get out of the project? Like, does it work? And typical thinking is the first few things you do will move the needle a whole lot and then it will flatten out. That's low-hanging fruit thinking, and it just doesn't work. Houses are too big, too complicated, too interconnected. It's like going on a diet and saying, I'm going to lose 5 pounds a week by not eating dessert on weekends. Like, that's not enough. You're not going to move the needle. So reality is the blue curve, where the first couple things you do don't really move anything, and then things start to happen fast, and eventually they tail off. So we want to get high on that blue curve, as high as we can with a budget that doesn't hurt the budget. So if we fail, we're going to land in what we call the Gulf of Disappointment, which that's why home performance hasn't scaled. Our jobs don't work that well. People should be like, holy cow, I can't believe this is the same house. That's the reaction you want from clients, but that's not what you get. But if we get up high, we land in the sea of success. Gotta love a little silly alliteration. We take ourselves very seriously. Very seriously. Okay, so moving on to page 7, a different way to look at the same curve is when you get into that S curve and you get into the top of that S curve, that's like the odds of results. So these projects are complicated and there is no guarantee. Don't ever guarantee somebody something. This is like going to the doctor and him saying, on pain of death, this treatment will work. He can't do that. It's an odds game. Like, all right, that's 3% of people die during this. That's what you're going to hear, or, whatever it is. It's an odds game.
Yeah.
So we want to get to 80 or 90% odds of results. And the higher we can get, the better. But the higher we get, the more costs. So there's a balance. We want to find that inflection point where it's the sweet spot, where when we spend more, we don't get more results. The curse is it's all theoretical, so it's educated guesswork. It just is. And how this works, if you look at the bottom of it, the first little bit of the curve, that's usually where traditional contracting or home performance 1.0 lives, where you get into the Gulf of Disappointment. Home performance 2.0 is about getting into the vertical and where it starts flattening out. You want to figure out where that is. Where is what makes sense to do the house? And then way out there, I've got some passive house friends. I'm sorry, I'm going to pick on you. That's when we're talking retrofits. Nobody's going to do passive house retrofits in cold climates. This house would be like $600,000. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out where's the sweet spot. But the thing that I love about passive house is they measure results, they track results, and they actually are largely delivering them. So I can shoot at other programs, but all the other programs suck. So I'm sorry that I pick on passive house, but it's because you're worth picking on. So anyway, moving on to page 8. I don't totally love this slide yet. I know you were like, what the heck do we do with this? But we like to help people understand how to maximize the odds of success. So this seems funny to have a rider on an elephant, but this comes out of a wonderful book by Dan and Chip Heath called Switch, and it's how to change when change is hard. And they talk about our beings being like a rider and an elephant. So the rider is our logical side. The elephant is our emotional side. The rider can tug the elephant around and get it to do stuff for a while, but eventually the rider gets tired. Example, I'm fat. If my rider was in full control of me all the time, I would be skinny, like Michael here. So what we want to do whenever we're trying to create a change, we want to find a path that both the rider and the elephant want to go down. And preferably we want it to be a downhill path. So this sounds a little bit theoretical, but it's not. So we're going to ask a lot of questions about your house, and this is kind of a hyper-logical process. It's very Spock. I want to get out of Spock mode for some of these questions and dip into the emotion and the pain that you experience from some of these problems in the house, because those make really, really good goals. I want the house to be more efficient. Bad goal, do nothing. Do you have any incandescent bulbs left? Change them. All right, you're done. That's it. Those will pay back within 3 to 5 years, no problem. Everything else, nope. But our bedroom is too cold to sleep in when it's below 20 degrees. Okay, now we're talking. I don't want to sleep in the bedroom when it's really hot out. Okay, that's a problem that we can solve. Those problems make really good things to guide a project. And so we want to get into those. So it's odd to open up to me. Normally you've just met me, you haven't. It's weird to open up to someone that you've only just met. But it's an important part of the process. So that's what we're trying to do there. And then the next page is one that we will come back to on prioritizing goals. So that's page 9. But just so you know, I like spectrums. Like I have a thing with spectrums. That's what's the low, what's the high, where's in the middle, like where are things. I want to understand the edges of a problem. So if something has a pain level of 1, you don't care. It doesn't bother you. It doesn't affect your life, whatever. If it's a 10, you don't care how much it costs to fix. You want to do it now. There are no 10s. You might have a 9.5, but nobody has a 10 because everybody cares what it costs. But we'll come back to that. So just understand that we're going to be hitting that when we come back. So does that all sound fair? Mm-hmm. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Miss Reluctant Spouse?
Makes sense.
Okay. So I am going to scroll through. Now in the form that I'm filling out here, it has screenshots of all this stuff so that you kind of know where you should be. It's meant to take as much of the guesswork as possible out of a fairly long, complicated process. It's not hard to follow, it's just long. So stick with it, don't get out of order. It's in this order for a reason. And every question in here is probably here because I got bit in the butt. So we start with warm-up questions that are easy. How long have you guys lived here? So probably separate amounts.
No,
Well, 3 years probably, right? 4 years?
almost 4 years.
4 years?
It'll
Okay.
be 4 years in the middle of this year.
In June or July.
Okay. And how long do you plan to stay?
Forever.
That makes you guys good clients because you'll actually fix it. Do you know about what year it was built?
I do not. I know it was heavily remodeled in 1957.
It's older than that, you think?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
Probably like early 1900s
Yeah, I looked it up
to
on the auditor. I wasn't there.
20s.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was the pharmacy forever
Yeah.
in Monroe.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So I don't know, 1920 or something like that. Guess. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, good enough.
It's a
I don't
beastly
think
building.
it matters.
No, not really.
It's a challenge to fix. So
This one's not easy.
fix it, Nate. What's the solution?
No solutions. None. We will not talk about solutions, and you will like it. All right. So how many square feet is the house?
I think we're gonna call it 3,000 for an easy guess.
You almost. I'm waiting for you to disagree.
Oh no, I agree. I don't know. So we're gonna go with what he says.
I've
It's a lot to
measured it.
clean. I know that.
It is that,
Yeah.
but it's a cool place. It's by the way, it's behind the shop. It's a family building, so it's a cool place. Needs some love, but it's a cool place.
Yeah.
So why did you two choose to live here?
I mean, was kind of out of. First off, it's my family's. My grandparents lived here for 50 years, and then after they died, we chose to rent it out a couple times, and tenants weren't caring for it to our liking, so it made sense for Alicia and I to take it over
Okay.
at that point.
I mean, at that point, it was just so it would be taken care of and not damaged anymore.
Yeah.
And then you fell in love with it.
Yeah, we always loved it. I mean, so I've known it longer than Alicia has, obviously, but it fits well
Yeah.
with our
I mean,
style.
I fell in love with it the first time I walked into the
The
house.
space.
Yeah.
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 I was like, yep, this is all me. I'm okay with this.
I'm in. Cool. Well, and you probably did Christmas and stuff here when you were a kid, right?
Yes,
Okay.
forever. I mean, it's like I said, my grandparents lived here for 50 plus years, so longer than I've been around.
Both of us, all three of us. So what do you two do? I have no idea what you do, Hush.
No.
I just rode on the truck with you all day.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm an HVAC contractor, and
I run dispatch for his HVAC company.
There we go.
I answer the phones and get yelled at.
But not today. You
Not
said.
today. Not today.
That's awesome. Do you guys have any kids?
I have 3 kids.
Teenagers? Do they live here?
Not really.
Sometimes,
The-
okay.
You know.
Stay sometimes.
Yeah.
I only asked that. I knew the answer, but it's in
Yeah.
the field.
It's,
So
you
um,
follow the process.
Yep.
Process is sacred.
this will get you a funny answer. How many people live here? And sometimes there'll be a college kid. They'll be like 2.3. They're here in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's 2 almost all the time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And yeah, and the girls aren't here that much, so I wouldn't consider them a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Agree.
So what improvements have you made to the house?
We've updated some appliances, new stove, microwave,
Dishwasher.
dishwasher. We did flooring,
Cute
painted.
rooms.
That's pretty much it.
We changed all the light bulbs to LEDs except for the fluorescents.
Yeah.
Score. You're looking for that payback.
It helps the Duke sends them for free.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah, I think I only bought 2.
Yeah.
The rest were free. And we have a lot of lights.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So what improvements are on deck? What are you thinking about doing?
Master bath.
Yeah, master bath is definitely on the radar, and the I don't even know what bath we call it, but the main bathroom as
Okay.
well. At least not fixture wise, but wallpaper and stuff like
Okay.
that. My other improvements all revolve around HVAC stuff, so you know,
Yeah. I
fixing.
mean,
that
what I
kind
want
of
to do is
stuff.
all cosmetic.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
It's all good. So, what other stuff do you have in mind?
Well, just the bathrooms right now are my biggest priority. I've painted everything else already, and
Nice.
the floor in the office, the front office there, when you first walk in, where all the construction stuff is at.
Yeah.
That floor needs to go away.
Yeah.
Um,
And the spare bedroom.
the spare
Floor.
bedroom flooring needs replaced.
Okay.
Yeah, where you were staying.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Perfect. But nothing that will change the shape of the house.
No.
No.
Okay. Good.
That's set in stone.
Literally.
If literally.
This is a heavy building. Do you know if any insulation's been done to the building?
Yes. I mean so there was a fire probably 5 or 6 years ago, and so this addition area was pretty much redone and re-insulated with just blown in the attic, blown in cellulose.
What about the main living area over there?
No, it's insulated between the floors. I know that.
Okay.
But that is all, you know, from the 50s
Okay.
era, and not done well.
Never is.
It is rock wool.
That's a good start. Mean. Brown death.
Yeah.
All right. Two DIY questions. First one, how capable are you? Another spectrum here. So one is, which end of the screwdriver do I use? I know you know that. 10 is Bob Vila.
I mean,
I think you're Bob
I
Vila.
think we're in the 9 or 10 camp.
I'm giving you a 10. You're the first one. But I also don't sit next to HVAC contractors that often that can kick my butt. But then the second question is, how much time do you actually have to DIY?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So 1 is a none, 10 is 24/7, 365. 2 or 3?
Yeah, I would say maybe 4.
More for me though. So if you're averaging out between the two of us,
Mhm.
but I can't do any of the actual mechanical
Yeah, it
things.
depends.
I can hold a paintbrush.
Yeah.
4?
I'd say 4.
So
We also are, you know, looking at long term, right? So we don't, timeline doesn't matter. It's not
Yeah.
things we need done tomorrow,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a nice place. It's just in need of some updates.
yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, and by the way, I asked this question for later. This is in the comprehensive planning process because I will give people 2 different prices. I'll give them a contractor price, and I'll give them either a lower cost one, like if it would be like inverter and like 5-stage kind of thing. So high end HVAC, 1 step down, but also it could be contractor cost and DIY cost. Because sometimes people will be like, all right, there's $1,000 spread, I'll do that. But if they say they don't know which end of the screwdriver to use, you don't give them that option because it will bite you. But that's what it's in there for. All right, so now we're going to dig into the 4 tenets. So safety, comfort, health and safety, and durability. So there's a bunch of questions here, like more than there probably should be. I need to figure out how to combine a few of these, but they're in here. So settle in. We'll get through them. And then when we're done with these, we go take a look at the HVAC to the blower. Okay, so do any of the rooms in the house heat or cool poorly?
Yes.
Which ones?
The extensions
Okay.
or the addition here on the back end of the house.
So that's with the master bedroom and what do
This
you call this
room.
room? Living room?
I mean, eventually it's going to be a dining room, I think. But
Okay.
right now it's kind of half dining room, half living room, or sitting room.
I'll call it the rear living room.
Yeah.
And it's primarily heating. I would say like the poorly is questionable. There's definitely a temperature difference, but they also stay somewhat conditioned. Okay, I feel like heating is a bigger priority for me at least, just because of cold floors and things of that nature.
Doesn't bother me as much. I'll just put more clothes on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas he freezes. But
Okay.
But my complaint is that if I'm doing anything active in here, he's got the temperature set on this thermostat in here, so it gets way
Okay.
warmer on this side of the house. So I'm like sweating when I'm cleaning in here, but then when I'm in bed, I'm freezing.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
That's and that's in heating.
In heating, yes.
Okay. So let's try and put a temperature difference on it. So it takes.
I can tell you exactly what it is.
All right. Well, let me go through the process, and then you can tell me. So, what's noticeable to humans is beyond 2 or 3 degree spread. 5 degrees is quite noticeable. 10 degrees is uncomfortable when you don't really want to be there. And at 15 degrees, usually you abandon the space. You just don't use it part of the year. So, all right. What's the exact?
I'd like her to answer.
I'd say 5.
5. Okay.
It's 3.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it's a big mean radiant problem then.
Mm-hmm.
So the surfaces are just too cold, and that's
Yes.
killing you, even though the air temperature is similar.
That,
Okay.
be careful. It's no solutions.
No. Well, that's not solutions. That's just
No.
talking about what it might be.
I'm teasing you.
So you shouldn't talk about that at the initial, but that's part of the curse here. You're going to have to call this a little bit. Okay, so 3 to 5 degrees. Floors are cold. That's kind of the big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have any summer comfort issues?
Not necessarily comfort, but humidity control issues. I don't know how Alicia feels though.
I'm usually comfortable. The only thing that I don't like that you can't fix about this is like you can't open the windows. I mean, you can,
Okay.
but there's no like.
Yeah,
There's no
you don't want
flow.
to do that anyway.
You don't want to do that anyway, but I like it. I like to open the windows, but
Okay.
it's apparently that's bad for your house. But whatever.
That's a really frustrating physics thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if my wife is watching right now, but she just texted me earlier today. If we get this next house we're looking at, I can have the windows open, right?
What's the dew point?
60 or below, preferably 55 or below, which doesn't happen from May to October. Anyway, so humidity's hard to control. Do you know how humid it is? Do you track the percentage?
I mean, track is the wrong term. I look at my thermostat. So, I mean, we are in acceptable levels. I mean, we're not ever above 60.
Okay.
We're pretty constantly in the 55 to 58 range.
And what set point?
Bedrooms are a little bit better with the mini splits.
Okay.
But set point is typically 74 to 76, somewhere in there, most
Okay.
of the time.
That's a pretty high relative for that high of a temperature. So that explains it. Does the humidity bother you?
No.
Okay. That's interesting. So the freeze baby doesn't like it. Okay.
It doesn't bother me. I'm not
Okay.
uncomfortable. I
Okay.
just know. I just am an HVAC guy, and I notice it. Right? You know what I mean? So it's not that it bothers me.
Okay.
Or I feel uncomfortable. You know?
Okay.
I mean.
So it's not going to be a high priority. It's an
Yeah,
intellectual
it's more of
priority.
yes, exactly.
That's good to know. Because if it's not that emotional, maybe we don't worry about it too much. It'll fall down the list. So I actually just asked this. Where do you keep the thermostat in summer? 74, 76?
Yeah, somewhere in that vicinity. I prefer it warmer than that, really, but Alicia doesn't.
74 is about
That's
where
the
I need it
compromise.
to be.
Okay.
Especially if I'm doing anything active.
Yes. But that's the compromise. Okay. What about at night or at work? Do you change the temperature at all? Or do
No.
you- okay.
No.
Constant. Good.
No.
We used to, but
No,
I
you
don't
don't now.
anymore.
Yeah.
So, next question is kind of related. Is that set point comfortable, or is it more of an energy thing? You're setting more for comfort, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Or the closest that you can get in a compromise between you.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely for comfort. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Keep
yeah,
it up
it's,
because
it's
he
for
doesn't want-
comfort and
Yeah.
you know. And most of the time, I'm the one messing with things, so Alicia doesn't really change things that often. I mean, there are times, but not too much. Yeah, she kind of lets me deal with
I don't
it.
touch anything unless I'm sweating, and then it's over.
All right. Or she only touches. I get that. It's hard in my house. Actually, speaking of which, I do window rattlers for my house. Do you guys use any window air conditioners?
No.
I don't think you need it. You got 2 mini splits and a central system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we don't need our central system very much, really.
yeah, mini splits will do the job. Are there any other winter comfort problems besides back here?
Not necessarily. Our entryway is unconditioned,
That's true.
and so it depends on if you define that as, you know, we don't hang out in the entryway, but, I think one of my goals is to at least heat that area. I don't care about cooling it, but I think I would like to heat it.
There's like a random vent in there. Like, what is that? What is that?
That is, there is a air handling unit that used to condition that area for cooling purposes, but not for heating, and I did away with that. So the ductwork and the registers are still there, but, you know, it's not necessary. I
Right.
mean,
It's not connected to anything.
yeah.
One of the 17 systems in here.
Pretty much, yes. It's, yeah, you know, the 18th system.
I've never seen a building with so many HVAC systems in it. And here's another one. Oh. It's all good. That's what happens when you get a tinker.
It's things of the past, you know. You can you got to see a lot of things that you'll never see again, most
Exactly.
likely.
No, it was cool to see all the stuff. It's like a museum.
Yep.
All right. In the wintertime, where do you guys keep the thermostat?
68 to 70. I like it 70. She
I like
likes
it
it
68.
68.
Okay.
And she tends to win that.
Well, because if we set it at 68, the thermostat's in the bedroom, so it's only 68 in the bedroom. It's actually 71 in the rest of the house. If it's a
Ah.
3,
Which is perfect for me.
yeah. But I sleep
'Cause
hot,
I
so
spend
I
the
like it
time in
colder.
that
I like it a
area.
little bit colder
In the
in the
Yeah,
bedroom.
Yes.
So he's got it on 70, and then it makes it 73 in here, which is too hot for me. Especially if I'm cooking or, you know, whatever.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
This is the important interplay that ends up coming out, and it's a collaborative discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's the
important.
reality probably amongst most male, female, you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you get this, it's because men are from Mars and women are from Venus,
That's
you
it.
know.
Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm so tempted. Don't do that to me. You're killing me. All right. So thermostat is a bedroom at 68. All right. So that makes sense. I find the house super comfortable. So not that it's that cold. A couple days I've been here, but I think
This
it's
is, it's same, you know, when we're at 0, it's the same deal.
okay.
Just cold floors at
Cold
that
floors.
point. So right now they're not cold, obviously, because it's 60
45 or
out,
50,
yeah.
yeah, whatever. It's fine. Do you use any space heaters anywhere?
No.
No.
How old is your furnace, heat pump, boiler? Which one of the three
Yeah.
of each?
Yeah, so our boiler is 40 years old. Our heat pump, our mini splits are probably in the 5 to 6 year old time frame. Our furnace and air conditioner for the main part of the house are the same in the 5 to 6 year time frame.
Okay. Oh, it's funny. How old is your air conditioner? We know that too. How about the water heater? How old is that?
Oh, that's probably 20 years old is my guess. Maybe a little less, but that's a guess.
It's the end of useful life, though.
Yes.
Okay,
It's gonna fail any day,
got it.
would be my guess.
It's too bad you don't have another water heater just sitting down there.
Yeah, it's a shame. That's a heat pump water heater, huh?
It's been a really fun day and a half.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice the HVAC running constantly, furnace, air conditioner, boiler?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell really. I don't have loggers or anything, and mini splits run kind of all the time, anyways, and just vary their output. So that's really difficult to say. I know for sure that the boiler does not run all the time
Yeah.
because I just
Logged it.
logged it.
Well, you can hear it too. Popping when it starts.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
yeah. They're
the
radiant.
radiant.
Yeah, the radiant.
too.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
Mhm.
I have that in my house too. Are there any noise issues in the house? Like, there's a couple different things. It could be outdoor noise, the traffic, dogs, or indoor noise, the air handler banging on and off. Any issues like that?
We can hear the bar
Bar.
next door
Okay.
with their when they're hopping.
It
I
doesn't
wouldn't
really
call it
bother
an
me.
issue, you know,
Okay.
but we can hear it.
Okay.
We just say, man, it's crazy at the
What
bar
are they doing
tonight.
over there.
We'll turn up the music. Okay, so that might be an objective, but it'll be like a 2
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Okay, so anything that I'm missing on the comfort side?
I don't think so. I mean,
It's basically back here in the entryway, and the rest of the house is pretty good.
Yep.
yeah.
Aside from thermostat wars.
yeah
No
that
wars.
doesn't-
No
yeah,
wars.
It's not war.
Skirmish. Okay, so moving on to health and safety. I love this. I'll just read my words. A high performance home is also a healthy home. We want to understand if there are any issues in the home and if anyone has any health issues home performance might be able to affect. So you don't actually have to read any of that stuff. It's just there as a placeholder. But do you guys have carbon monoxide detectors?
Yes.
You got one on you.
And he
But,
wears that 24 hours a day.
You should take it off. You know,
We're in a
it's not the
restaurant.
fault.
He's like, oh, these people have a problem.
Okay, so but what about in the building?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're all connected. So
Okay.
all floors are, it's smoke
Okay.
A and CO that are interlocked.
That's pretty cool.
It all came from the fire.
Okay. That'll happen. Do either of you have allergies?
I don't believe that I do.
I mean, I do just seasonal allergies.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me too bad.
A couple weeks a year?
Yeah.
Do you take anything?
No.
Okay, you just suffer. All right. Suffers through it.
Yep.
There's no objective. Asthma for either of you?
No.
Cigarettes take care of that.
Yep.
Is the house dry in winter?
I would say yes, but not as bad as our office is.
Really? Why is that?
Probably because I haven't finished the return in the office and it draws from downstairs.
Oh, okay. It's basically
So-
kind of drawing outdoor air.
Yeah.
Yes, it's dry.
Okay. The house or the office or
Yeah,
both?
both.
Okay. Do you use any lotion for it?
Sure.
A lot or
Yes.
a little? Okay.
Hmm. I mean, that's a woman thing, right?
Not necessarily, but it leans that way. But I hear it from both sides.
Well, I have sensitive, dry skin, and you don't. So there's a difference.
That sounded hateful.
I'm just saying.
There it is, the just saying. It smooths over all sins right there. It's yeah. Your mother's well loved. Just saying. Makes it okay.
Yeah.
A great Seinfeld episode. All right, she says it's dry and uses lotion. Okay. So, do you guys have a humidifier on any of the systems?
No, but I have one to install. I just haven't done it yet.
All right.
My difficulty is that I don't have, like, I don't use our forced air system, right? And so it doesn't, the whole, I have an evaporative humidifier or a bypass humidifier, which is probably not my best option.
Got it.
I need a steam or something so that it can actually
Okay.
evaporate into the air.
When we get to the CPP, we'll discuss that. Tomorrow morning at breakfast. Okay, so do you notice that you get sick in this house any more than other places that you've lived?
For me, I feel it's less.
Okay.
Same.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's good. Do either of you have mold sensitivities?
Not that I'm aware of.
Nope.
What about any chemical sensitivities?
I mean, I'm sensitive to carbon monoxide.
Seriously? Really? How does that manifest?
I can just like feel my eyes like burn, and I know it's like odorless, but I feel like I can smell it, and I don't know. It's not like horrible, but I feel that when I'm exposed to even small amounts, I can tell.
Interesting.
Which is why I don't use the gas logs.
Oh. See, you hear that? Don't use your gas logs.
Exactly.
It will set all kinds of stuff off. It is not complete combustion. Do you notice the house being dusty?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you feel like you have to dust more often than it seems like you should?
I mean, if I was a duster, I would say yes, but I just kind of ignore it
Okay.
until I absolutely have to do it.
Yeah. And it's, for me, it's primarily this addition side of things, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
It's interesting.
It's the addition. I love finding the disagreements. I think my cousin was the trickiest one. We had 3 different objectives where she was a 2 and he was a 9, or vice versa. I'm just like, right. So I just take the high one and figure that's the one that I need to design for. And the other person doesn't matter.
Yeah. The difference is I'm right and she's wrong, so.
I'm not getting
Unless you pay attention to the dust. Next question.
Yes, I do. I guarantee you. I know where it's at and where it comes from. So.
Not getting in this.
Yeah.
It's not good. This is
Oh,
going
it's-
sideways.
Next
It's
question.
fine, yeah.
No, exactly. That does happen fairly often where they start joking. I'm like, awkward. Next question, please. Do you notice this is usually a moisture issue if there's like odors in the house that kind of linger in one room or another?
I don't think so. I don't know what
I mean,
you feel. Maybe
The
in the
basement
laundry
is musty,
room.
yeah, down
Okay.
where the laundry room is. But I mean, I feel like that's basement, so that's kind of supposed to stink.
It's finished though,
I mean,
so it's not.
kinda.
Okay.
I don't feel like our bottom of the steps maybe the bathroom down there because the girls are
The
nasty.
bathroom and the laundry room are
Yeah.
definitely, but probably the only two big problems as far as mustiness goes.
Mhm.
Does it bother you very much, or just
Yeah,
Don't
we're
bother
not
me, I
really
don't go
down
down
there.
Do laundry.
okay? Do you notice the basement ever being damp?
No, not on the office side, yeah, but not on
Okay.
our side.
Yeah.
They're connected, and
The-
this is
yeah.
a very weird building
Yes, they are
to do an
connected.
initial on, but
Mhm.
so normally we would need to deal with that, but we'll just come back to that. Do you notice any mold or mildew anywhere in the house?
Yes. So the master bathroom, I think has issues where the shower is there. It's like 2 outside walls. So, and you can see in cold weather, you can actually make out the nails in the drywall. And then that spot in the entryway that I showed you yesterday, I'm
Okay.
not exactly sure what that is. Need to tear into it more, but those are the only 2 spots really that I've noticed.
Okay, ceiling's bulging in there. I remember, so
Mhm.
that looked interesting.
There's a spot underneath the window in that front office too.
Oh yeah, good call.
What's the spot look like?
It's
It's some kind of leak where the
yeah,
window
it's
is
water
right there. It's
intrusion
water.
on the window. They're like they're not operable windows, so it's I think it's something with I don't even know what you'd call it, but like the ledge that it sits on,
Oh, okay.
maybe.
Okay. So it could be
Yeah.
an install issue to some degree.
Yeah, or an
It's
age.
old, yeah.
It's an
Okay.
it's probably an age and or something on the outside, maybe like a because that side's stucco, so it could be a gap in, and it's also really kind of high off the ground, so
Okay.
you know you can't
It's not
just
easy to get
look
to.
at it and
Yeah.
see very easily. So it's hard
Okay.
to say for sure, but
So it's worth further inspection, probably.
correct.
Have you ever had a roof leak?
Small minor roof leak, yeah,
Where?
around this chimney area in our master bedroom.
Was it a lot of water, or how long was it before you got it
No.
fixed?
It's never really been fixed. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
think. You know, like I think that there's
It only happens it's like when the weather is a certain
Yeah.
way.
Wind comes.
wind is a
Yeah.
certain whipping way, and I haven't figured out exactly where it's coming from. So.
Okay. All right. How about plumbing leaks?
Other than
No.
faucets that
Yeah,
need
our
replaced.
faucet needs replaced, but that's not a
It's
leak
just
onto
drip.
the.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, that doesn't really matter. That's not going to rot the house out. It's just
Yes.
hitting the drain. Have you ever had ice dams?
No.
I don't even know what that is.
Good.
Icicles off the roof,
Oh.
or we have a rubber roof,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
probably less likely, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the water intrusion's less likely. Yeah. Hopefully. Okay. But no, that's the key part. You don't have. This is more of a that's a Cleveland question, or it's along the Great Lakes where we
Yeah.
get hammered with lots of snow. Do you have a dehumidifier in the house?
Yes.
When do you run it?
When humidity is above 50.
Okay. Yeah, ventilating dehumidifier, as the case may be, but not hooked up to the outdoors.
Correct.
Um,
It's just kind of lives in the outdoors though.
kind of close in the basement. Yeah. Maybe not the ideal placement. You might stick it in the bathroom or something like that. Do you use any air purifiers or filters?
Not other than our filters. She likes these Glade plug-in things, which I don't like, but I don't know if that counts.
That's the other way that actually muddies up the water, but that's okay.
Yeah, he's not going to win that battle, though.
Yes, dear. That will require a Fubot
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah.
All right. Do you ever run the furnace fan all the time?
I used to, not so much anymore. There are times in the winter that I'll sometimes kick it on to filter and circulate some air.
Okay.
Because it's separate areas, kind of,
Yeah.
and we use our boiler primarily in the heating mode, so sometimes I'll kick it on for a little while, and or it will get kicked on by other devices, like the dehumidifier controls the fan and other things like this, so, you know, it's a little bit complicated, but I don't use the on
Okay.
function of the thermostat.
All right. Do you change your filter?
I do.
How often?
Every 6 months or so.
Is it dirty when you do it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Should you change it more often?
No.
Why?
Because the pressure drop is fine.
Data right there. I love that. We talked about that earlier. Do you have bathroom fans in every bathroom?
Yes. I'm not sure about the downstairs, honestly.
There's one above the shower. I'm not sure that it, does anything.
No idea where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if the other ones are vented outdoors?
They are not.
Okay. Okay. That will end up in the plan somehow.
Yep.
It's going to be hard with a rubber roof, though.
Oh, no, there's I think I might have a solution for that.
No solutions.
You're not talking about them. I'm allowed to talk about it.
And I get to ignore you. Do you have a rain shed?
Yes.
Because it's been outside yet.
No.
No. It's not really
Is
a
it
rain
used?
shed.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's part of the microwave,
It's
right?
the microwave, yeah.
You know, one thing that does kind
It
of stick about
doesn't
those, they don't
cover
move
the-
very much.
yeah.
Yeah, well, they don't move a lot of air, but that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Have you had any pest issues in the house?
I don't think so. Oh,
We have gnat issues in the summer,
Okay.
when it gets
Yeah.
humid. They come up from the drains.
From the drain. Sounds
Yeah,
like a
it's
horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the sink, the kitchen sink is the only area they come from.
I feel like they were coming out of the bathroom sink last summer
Were they?
in here. The master
Master.
bath.
I didn't notice that, but
But it's definitely worse in the kitchen, but obviously, I mean, it would be. That's where the food source would be. But
Got it. Okay. But no ants or mice or anything like that.
no.
Yay. That's good. Do you use any air fresheners, candles, or incense?
yes, all of the above. Well,
All
I
of the
don't do
above.
incense.
Not incense,
Okay.
but
Plugins.
I hate all of the above.
Sorry about it.
It's not going to win that one. My wife burns candles too, so not all the time, but and our animals make our house not smell very good. So
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not
we have
really
2
against
dogs
either.
in here, and yeah,
Part of it. All right, so we have some air quality. Usually, when somebody's using scents, there's something they're trying to cover up.
sure.
Yeah.
So If there's a way to get to the root cause of it, we do. And
Shoot the dogs.
You're not killing my dogs either.
that's I
I'm
understand.
teasing. I
I
don't
know,
want
Of
the
course.
dogs.
Yeah,
to-
I know you like the dogs. The dog tried to bite me. I know both of you smoke, so there you
Yeah.
go. All right. Okay, we're on to section 3, durability now. Do you notice any puddles that are near or against the building during rainstorms?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I can't think of anything either.
There's puddles inside the building sometimes during rainstorms, but
All right,
not
where-
outside.
And
Where,
the
where are the
shop
ones
side?
inside?
That's in the shop area. I think I kind of showed you, but it would be outside of our.
Underneath my desk, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
not.
yeah. There's
It's
coming
against the
through
front
the wall.
wall.
Okay.
Yeah. That's going to be a little bit of a bear to figure out, I think.
Right underneath the parking
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, I think that it's some drainage issue under the parking lot, and so, which is not going to get torn out
Yeah.
for sure. So,
Okay.
I haven't quite figured that out. I think I'm going to drill like holes and try to allow it to escape
to
into
go.
Family Dollar, but. Kind of my thought.
That should work. That happens to be downhill here, so why not?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a flood inside the house or the basement?
Yeah, I mean, there's water intrusion in the basement, not flood per se.
All right, but no floods that you know of. Anything your grandparents had?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
There was something in the garage side over here, not like flood, but and all that's kind of outside, but one of the drains backed up
Oh, okay.
in that large garage. That was a couple years ago.
How long was it wet?
I mean, just a day or two, maybe, not very long.
Probably
And
not
that's
long
all
enough to be
like
a problem.
concrete.
Yeah, no, it doesn't care. Well,
yeah.
the moisture can get into the living space, but 1 or 2 days is
Yeah.
not super likely to cause issues. Okay. Do you notice the gutters overflowing during rainstorms?
Yes.
Where?
I mean,
The rear?
all along there. Above the garage side. And up in the front. By the office.
But not that one side up there.
I mean, there's definitely gutter issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's
Okay.
also, like, it's ran weird where they, like, put the gutters in the concrete when they pour the concrete.
Oh, it probably needs snaked or something.
I don't know. Well, I mean,
Okay.
it's just a weird setup. So it just falls from the building, but it all ends up going into where the water was supposed to go anyway. So I don't know. It's
Okay.
weird. It's a weird situation.
Well, you don't have water puddling against the building, so that's a good thing.
No.
Yeah, there's not very much flat ground.
Yeah, we're on a hill.
Yeah, you're on a hill. Yeah, yeah. Stuff rolls downhill.
Yeah.
There we go. Have you ever had any mold remediation done?
No.
Yeah, I already asked about mold sensitivities earlier. Anything that I missed of things that bother you about the building?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that my bothers are the water intrusion on the office side. That's something that is kind of the owner's responsibility. The dust is probably my biggest issue out of those that we just talked about.
Okay. Which one would you say is the biggest for you if you don't have any others?
I mean, really, none of them are a deal breaker for me.
Okay.
I could probably live in this house the way it is like this for the rest of my life
All right.
if I had to.
which would mean that the budget would be very low, at least from you, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a. You know any good HVAC guys to solve some of these issues? Anybody? Anybody? That's
I don't know one.
me neither.
They're hard to find, I hear.
We're gonna have to figure that out. Maybe The Apprentice.
Yeah. Train 'em good.
All right. But that's actually interesting to hear from you because that's an important thing. Like if it doesn't bother you that much, all right,
I'm not easily bothered.
that's good.
She's awesome.
If you're looking for an argument, pick another subject. So she's fed me twice now.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that. All right. So this part, I'm probably going to delete some of these questions. I don't think they're useful. But on the efficiency side, do you feel like the building uses more or less energy than?
I
neighbors?
think that is way too difficult to answer.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
kind of what I think. For this building in particular.
Yeah.
And this is too early to bring up. So the next question is, would you be interested in moving your home away from fossil fuels if it made sense? I feel like that's probably too early to even bring this up, really. But what do you think? Since it's here.
Personally, I would be interested in it. There are certain things that would make it further down the road, like our new gas stove and stuff of that nature. So, but I'm interested in exploring that option on the HVAC side of things
Okay.
for sure.
Yourself? Whatever.
I got nothing.
Okay.
She will be the one that will have to decide if induction cooking works or not.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
We got to get you a hot plate. You can try it out. It's got to be a good hot plate. Don't get a $40 one. You need like 70 to 90.
I do love my gas stove quite a bit.
That's totally normal. I still love my old gas stove, but I like my induction one just as well. And my wife actually admitted that a little bit ago. Like I was thrilled. Like, yay, Rachel! Yeah, man, I couldn't get to my computer to post that on Facebook fast enough. And she commented about that fact. All right. I totally forgot to ask you for gas and electric bills,
Yeah,
which,
we can.
good Lord, how that works, but we'll figure it
Yeah.
out. So, but you want to look at the bills and collect the annual usage at this point. And then that'll let you calculate energy use intensity. So that actually was fast for oftentimes how this goes.
That was fast.
This usually takes me an hour and a half, and we're a hair over an hour in.
Mm-hmm.
We have any questions from the peanut gallery?
It doesn't look like it. Not that has.
All right, guys, if you have questions, please ask some. So just so you know what comes next, the point of these initial questions is to flush out what the potential problems to solve are, and you want to begin to categorize in your mind. And this form kind of sucks for this. So I'm usually I have a little notebook that I keep with me, and I write down the problems. And then I try and prioritize them in my mind, and then we continue talking through it. What's going on?
How many Apple devices are on that table?
4.
6.
6. Oh yeah, 6, and then plus the one that's recording. So. All right, that was a very important question. Kaiser.
Great question,
Thank you.
Eric.
Man, we were looking for deep, hard-hitting questions, and you delivered.
Did you happen to notice the retro tech?
I was kind enough that they actually sent me this gauge to play with, and I haven't played with it just yet. I was about to, and then my basement flooded right as I was going to go do a couple of blow-door tests on some new houses.
Yeah, I would have been. We should have broke it out today. I would have been interested to see the differences, but it's the way it goes sometimes.
We'll play with it. Yeah, we wanted to get ready for this. So anyway, the questions, now you've flushed out what some of the things might be. And to me, the pain levels feel pretty stinking low. You're going to screw around with the building until you die. It's pretty likely, and you're going to happily go along with it and make sure that the building looks nice. From this stage here, like, you don't want to judge people necessarily because it's not your decision to make, but you are beginning to put together. You got goals, and the house needs comes next, and budget, and the goals aren't that critical. How do we get you better filtration? Probably is the biggest thing. You won't have gone super deep into the problems yet, but now you're going to get up and walk around the house, and you're going to get to see things, and more little details are going to go kerplunk, kerplunk, kerplunk into place. And you want to have your little notebook and make a couple of little notes as you go. So next you go and you shut off the HVAC so you can run the blower door, and then you do the blower door test, and then you do zonal diagnostics, which is just closing the door on anything that will close and seeing how leaky that room is. And then any rooms that are super leaky, you go back to with infrared if the weather is cooperative, which sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. And at that point, you have a decent idea of what the house needs. What are people
I
saying?
don't know how.
Oh,
we do
YouTube
that.
comments. I know that's actually, yeah, that's kind of the curse. All right, I'm sorry, guys, that we can't see the YouTube comments because we kind of half-assed put this together. So,
Yeah,
can
anybody
somebody
can-
transcribe comments, please, for us to the 2.0 thing? Kaiser, in particular, please. So anyway, you flush out the initial stuff, you go out, you look at the HVAC, you do the blower door testing, and then we actually sit back down afterwards. And usually at this point right now, well, like, I'm getting a little bit tired of sitting here. And like, I'll comment like at the end of the questions, like, all right, I'm tired of asking and answering questions. How about we go do this? And usually everybody's happy to go. But why don't we touch on the next piece too, at least once we get...
Sharing the initial form, that's a no.
Matt Milton, yeah, that's you got to be in. You got to go share some chapters, tell us some stories of what happened. You need to have a blower door. You got to be in. Sorry, but I think you were getting close to that anyway, right? If memory
Yeah.
serves. So
Yeah, I think Matt this isn't necessarily his full-time gig, so that's
Yeah,
his difficulty. But
got it.
share some chapters, Matt, and you'll get it.
Yeah, that's
You know.
part of it. This form was a pain that it took us to put together, and it's third or fourth iteration in at this point, and I need to do a whole nother iteration. So I'd like it to be where you can just forward it to the client afterwards, and it serves as your report, where right now I'm writing up something separate, and it's a pain. I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of automation and streamlining that still has to happen, but one step at a time. Okay, so let's go back and pretend like we did the HVAC inspection and the blower door test. We did do the blower door test, and I guess I've seen all the HVAC, all
Yeah.
17 and a half pieces. So let's see, I need to scroll through here so I get to it. Okay. So this is where we come back to, so we're
Okay.
going to go,
We do have another question
Okay.
here from Ray
Orton.
Orton. When evaluating your home, how important is the type of roof you have calculate into the factor? I'm not sure I understand what factor.
yeah, what
He's
factor,
talking
Ray,
about.
if you can come over to the 2.0 group, we'll tackle that. I mean, that's, so to be fair, a commercial building, which this is with a rubber roof, is not going to be your standard. You're usually going to see an asphalt roof, and you're going to be a 3 or 412 pitch or higher. So that can depend on some things, but that won't affect anything at the initial.
Yeah.
You don't really even give the house a really thorough inspection at the initial. You don't have to wrap your head around the house yet. You're just trying to wrap your head around the problems that people want to solve and the blower door information, and you're looking for problem areas. So like if you get a room that tested in zonal to be 50% connected outdoors, you need to go back and look at that room if you sell the next step, so you can figure out where's that air coming from. Maybe that helps. Maybe he comes in. But let's pretend like we're sitting back down again. So we want to rank the goals. Disagreement is good. If you guys have different numbers, I'll write both of them down. But whoever has the higher number is the one that determines the score. But I'd like you guys to disagree if there's a disagreement. And we should look for a story behind some of these things too. So make it more of an emotional thing. So you had just said that the dust is the thing that bothers you most.
Mhm.
Why?
Just because I don't like to look at it.
Okay.
Oh, and I mean, I feel that I'm breathing that, right? So, you know, that's kind of my main concerns with the dust. I know it's coming from my attic, and so I don't like that.
That's my bet too. It's getting sucked into the ductwork because it runs up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. We got a.
No, it's good.
Okay. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I don't care, 10 being I don't care how much it costs, fix it now. How big of a deal is fixing for dust?
Personally, I'm probably in the 8 range.
Don't care.
5.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be nice for it to go away, but
Well, so you don't have to worry about dusting.
correct.
Okay. Let's see. Cold floors. Would that be next?
I think so.
So different numbers from you guys. Alicia, your turn to go first.
It really doesn't bother me that much.
2.
2.
Okay.
I think I'm 6.
Trying to think what were some of the other. You guys didn't have a ton. Well, dry skin for you. That might actually be your highest one, even though it's not that high. Dry skin in winter.
Yep.
Reduce dry skin.
Probably 7 or 8.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it sucks.
Michael, 2.
0.
No, yeah, I don't really care, but I can hopefully resolve that problem for fairly easily.
Okay. Okay. Humidity control was another one that was on there,
Yeah.
but that was intellectual, like we had talked about.
Yeah.
What would control look like?
I mean, I would prefer to maintain 50 at minimum, really, whenever I want it to be that. So, that's kind of what it looks like for me.
Okay. And how much does it bother you, scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, it's all intellectual, so it doesn't necessarily bother me, but, you know, because of my profession, I feel like I should have a handle on it, you know, and so I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay. I don't know that there were any other goals that really screamed at me. Oh, wait. The you want to heat the entryway.
Yeah, that's an easy fix too. Or I know we can't talk solutions, but that's an
You
easy
can extend the
solution.
hydronics.
Yeah,
that's fine.
you know, but that is a part of it depends on where that spot is. Like, so part of my thinking is that the spot in the ceiling could be because that is a condensing surface, and
Moisture,
so I'm not 100% sure on my priority level there, but that is also, you know, a fairly easy fix, so we'll give it a 4.
Okay. And that was the one I forgot actually, were the moisture problems. So like you had the leakage in the window, the the shower
Yeah,
wall.
I mean, my other goals, which have always been goals as well, is ducting the fans and stuff outside, and
The shower wall.
yes,
Um,
yes, for sure.
and let's lump those together, even though maybe we totally shouldn't. You got questions?
No.
Couples yeah, this process does
Yeah.
partly serve as couples counseling.
Yeah.
It says, I love you. It can be good for that. Psychology is part of what we do, for better or for worse. But I mean, what contractor doesn't have that to deal with? It's like you said today, like, I didn't get yelled at today. It was a good day.
Yeah.
Like, you're dealing with their psychology, trying to calm them down
Yep.
while not getting revved up yourself. And that can be hard. So dealing with the moisture, like the window leakage, ducting the fans, I want to leave the basement to a separate one because I think that deserves its own.
Mhm.
But dealing with a few little moisture problems that you have, is it like a 4 or 5 or something like that?
I mean, actually, for me, it's probably higher than
Oh, really?
that.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
I
would you
would
call
say
it?
it's a 7.
Okay.
I don't know what she probably
Whatever.
doesn't care.
He's
I
going to
don't
fix
She
it.
doesn't notice it.
I don't
Yeah.
notice it.
There you go. What about the moisture intrusion in the basement?
That needs dealt with for
Yeah.
sure, and that's something that's a more difficult scenario, as I'm not responsible for that.
Yeah, it's true. It's
So
your dad's building. So.
yeah, this part I'm responsible for, but that part I'm not.
Yeah.
So
Well, what would you say of how it bothers you because you're going to be breathing? and stuff like that?
it hugely bothers
Okay.
me,
9.
and it also is a difficult thing because we store stuff there, right?
Okay.
And so it messes with my business as well.
Okay, so there you go. There's a pain point, and that's kind of a crappy one because you don't have direct control over it.
Correct.
Or the other stuff you can deal with, and it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of funny that I almost left that off by mistake, and it's there. That's part of why I like to have my little notebook
Yeah.
because I
so-
will forget.
Yeah. It's,
It
there's a lot that you're going through, and so it's difficult to remember everything, especially without looking back through.
and it's so stinking long. It's hard to look back through. I divided it into separate sections, and then you would go back and forth and lose the whole thing. Right, Eric? Twice. That was one of the first iterations. One of the next things we'll do when we make this a real software tool, we'll be able to click like this is an objective, and it'll go ding to the
Yeah,
end.
that would be nice.
Yeah, but I don't know how you do that with this. It's Google
Yeah,
Forms. This is
yeah.
not an exotic tool. But anyway, that gives us
And
an
it
idea.
breaks process if you rank them beforehand.
Early, yeah. Well, people need to they need to think on it. So like all these questions are going to be spinning in their minds while you're doing the other things. So you are kind of messing with their heads. But it's like a good doctor. You go to the doctor and so tell me your family history. Tell me why you're here. What are you hoping to accomplish? It's just being the doctor. And then you do further tests until you feel like you have a diagnosis that works.
Mhm.
But until you understand enough, you don't want to say what the diagnosis is.
Yeah,
And at this phase, do not talk diagnosis.
yeah.
Do not. Like you will kill everything. I'll tell you what though, go try it, ruin a lead, and then you'll believe me. There's a rule. There's a reason that's a hard and fast rule. It's because every time I break it, I kick my butt. All right. Do you think I missed any other goals? You're just like,
Yeah,
cool.
I don't think so. I mean, we do have. There are goals that probably aren't pertinent to home performance, but we'd like to get the greenhouse going
Okay.
and
Yeah.
things like that. So that maybe is another thing, which there was some water intrusion in there when we were down there yesterday. That's kind of a gray area of is it inside or is it outside?
Well, but it's
too.
moisture that affects the indoors, so
Yeah.
you would want to look at it as part of the CPP.
Yeah.
Right now, you don't care, but the next step, yes.
Yeah.
So it may not be an objective, but it's well, it probably would be. Actually, let's make it an objective. So goal 8, get the greenhouse working. What would you say?
Oh,
Priority.
that's probably lower on the totem pole for me, like a 3.
Okay, 3. Okay. It's good to know these because sometimes it interrelates, and you never know. Like, so we'll do this, this, and this, and you'll just happen to get this one. Oh, nice. Or you'll do this, this, or this, and that's a totally separate project. So I've been asked to do some tomato rooms. It's always interesting, but okay, I think that's about everything. So the last step is the budget exercise, and this still bothers me. Like, I don't love doing this, and you might just tell people, look, I find this uncomfortable, so I'm sorry, but my boss will kill me if I don't get an answer to the question. Because actually Ted will kick my butt for not getting budget from somebody. Like we had arguments over this for years until I figured out a way to do it. That was okay with me. So thinking on all of those issues. So like if we could fix the water intrusion in the basement, we could get the humidity under control, we could get the dust under control, all those sorts of things. Without taking any food off the table, what would it be worth a month to make those problems go away? Speaking of my wife, what would it be worth to make those go away?
I'd like her to answer first.
A month?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like a monthly budget?
Yeah, like your
Like
Netflix
forever.
bill or
Yeah,
whatever.
forever.
Forever?
Yeah.
Forever. And we're talking, it's 15-year money, but
This
it
is-
might as well
this
be
is-
forever.
It's monopoly money too,
Yeah.
so it's not real, but you just figure out.
No
what-
commitment, just
what-
trying to understand.
I mean, that's a hard question to answer. I don't know.
Well,
It's a
so
hard
think about, like,
question
it
to
is
answer.
hard. So a way to frame it is the
Is it
cell phone
wor-
bill's like $100 a month.
Yeah.
Is it worth a cell phone bill to make it go away?
Or how
I don't
much
think it is.
more in rent would you pay for this place if all those things were fixed?
There you go. That's not a bad way to put it either.
Like everything?
Everything.
Everything.
$300 a month, maybe?
Well, that would
Wow.
be way more than you need. That buys
Wow.
about 50 grand. So we don't need
I
that.
was gonna say 150.
Okay.
So
So at that point, now
So
at
she's
least you
paying
I
for
guess
it.
it depends.
She's
I
paying
guess
for
I guess
it.
the next question is if I
Oh,
pay
we
for
got
it
it
or
on
you're paying
tape.
for it.
We got it on tape.
I saw you saying 3. I'm like, she's gonna say 30, and I'm gonna be like, space heaters and window units, baby. And then she goes and surprises me with the 300. Which remember, there's no,
Sure.
and that I totally forgot to reiterate that this is not commitment. We're just trying to get an idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like what will the solutions look like. It's like what is it worth to fix it.
Right.
Because that is divorced from what the solution is. Because the budget will then drive what the solution looks like. Just like if you go to an architect and you want a new home, that you want a $300,000 home or do you want a $2 million home? He needs to have an idea so that he can design, or she, actually, one of my favorite architects is a client. So anyway, that helps drive it. And my bet is when we move forward, you'd be like, yeah, I didn't actually mean that. That's fine. Like,
Yeah.
not an issue, not a problem, just trying to get an idea. So it might have bothered you more than you realized if you were willing to say that high of a number. Maybe. Or maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll see. Okay.
Or she's just money bags.
That is,
You know?
I don't know about that.
you had no idea about this. Her wealthy uncle died, left her a bunch of money, and she never told you. Oh, that's funny. So, anyway, that's most of the end of it. So at this point, you just let people know I'm going to send you a recap email, all of the photos that we took, well, several hours ago. I'll put in an album and send them to you so that you have those to look at. And a recap email of what we went through, so like what the goals are and the budget and stuff like that. And then what I like to do is give people an idea on a spectrum. So on one side we have HVAC only, On the other side, we have air sealing and insulation only. So sometimes you do see a house that has nice HVAC, but it leaks like a sieve, and maybe you can make it work. So I like to give people an idea on the spectrum of where it is. And I think your house leans way more because the blower door was 5,500, which was interesting because you got a 4,500 not that long ago. So I wonder what the difference was. But that's really leaky. So it's a leaky boat. It's headed for the bottom of the ocean. We need to try and figure that out. Although, because the building's so complicated, you might actually solve it by HVACing the heck out of it. It might be a throw energy at the problem kind of thing, which may sound crazy to hear from me, but it's like, all right, if we're going to hit budget, this is the way that we get there.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't fit in with my goals, right? So because our HVAC is actually fine and keeps it comfortable,
Yeah.
right? So that's I'd prefer to throw money at air sealing, at least part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The areas that I know are troublesome.
Exactly.
But that's just kind of my thoughts. You know,
That
I mean,
works.
because the HVAC stuff works really and is
It does.
not uncomfortable. Really, you know what I mean?
I think it's nice. Granted, I show up on a 45-degree day when it's
Yeah, but
house,
this is
but
what it feels like when it was
Negative
negative
nine,
12.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so it's
It works.
not, and it's not any different.
well, that works.
But I do want to condition it with an air to water heat pump, hopefully.
It's you
So-
screwing around, too, which I love. Like, you're just a tinkerer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, everybody that seems interested in 2.0 is a really good mechanic who likes screwing with the knobs and making things work and fixing things, and I love that because this is all about fixing houses. So there is one last piece of the puzzle, which is you want to describe what the next steps look like. So let's see, what page is that? So if you have the presentation open, it's page 11. We're going to. So the next piece of this is what we call the comprehensive planning process, and now that we have some idea that there might be a viable project here, we have to figure out what it is, and that takes a fair amount of time and effort because on that S curve, we're trying to figure out how can we get to that inflection point. And there is no shortcut to getting there. You just have to spend time and noodle it and look through the house and understand the house and sleep on it again and come back to it. Like, this is a really hard one. So I'm glad I don't have to do this one for real yet. You're going to saddle me with this sucker, aren't you?
Yeah.
But from what you guys told me, like it's enough budget that there's likely something we can do to tackle at least a few of those goals. So we want to figure out where the sweet spot is. So we have to do diagnosis and planning to do that. And this is where I begin to say process is sacred. So we have a very set order to do things. And we find whenever we go out of order, things fall apart, everybody gets frustrated, and the project doesn't happen, problems don't get solved. And the whole goal of this is to solve problems within a budget that you're okay with. That's the point of the process. So moving to the next page, page 12. It's funny, a buddy of mine is a male nurse who has to put up with Fokker jokes all the time. But I was telling him about what we do, and he's like, dude, you're totally a nurse. Like, this is the nursing process. It's called ADPI. Look it up. Well, here it is. Like, it's totally what we do. So ADPI stands for Assess, Diagnose, Plan, Implement, and Evaluate. And the home performance process ends up in 4 phases. So there's the initial consult, which is what we're in now. The next step is the comprehensive planning process, which does both diagnosis and planning. So we figure out what are we actually going to do. Step 4, which is actually the 3rd phase of the project, is to do the project. And then the last phase is to figure out, did it work? And that last phase is where all the learning comes from. So feedback is a huge piece of what we do. So I'm going to plant the seed now. I'm going to be asking you guys post-project, how does the house feel? Cold snap, expect an email. Warm spell, expect an email. I'm going to ask you, how's the house feeling? Did we hit your objectives? And then we also place various ways to log what's going on in the house, tracking various things, so that we can understand with data backing up what your observations are. So feedback is critical in our process, and we find our clients really enjoy that part of it because they know we care. We just want to fix stuff. Okay. So what the comprehensive planning process looks like is on slide 13. So it starts with an energy audit. So I show up and I spend the day with your house. This one I'd actually need to spend 2. This would take me a while to get through, and I'd probably space them a week apart so I could think on it. So I have to inspect the house. I'm looking for root causes to problems. I have to take measurements for the energy model. An energy model's like a fancy spreadsheet of how your house uses energy, so that if we tweak different things, we understand what's going to happen, and we can also choose the right piece of heating and cooling equipment for the building. And then if there's other testing we need to do, we do that there. So like the stuff that we did today, static pressure, combustion safety, if the piece of equipment is staying and you're concerned about it, test it. So you'll decide what you test each time. Second step in CPP is agree on a budget. So right now, this is all ethereal. It's nice, it's great. But at that point, like, all right, what is the budget? We need to agree. So you've got a little bit of time, but know that that's coming. I will then make a list of everything I can think of within some kind of reason to do to the building, so that we can discuss them with our partners later. And then we use all of that information to build the energy model of the house, to understand how it uses energy, if we change things, what happens, and what piece of HVAC should we put in. And then the second to last step is we package that. So if I come back to you and I give you a list of 75 different things in the building to do to the building, which we do sometimes, so that's a big list, but 30 to 50 items is normal. If they come back not prioritized and not priced, you don't know what to do. It's just a big fat list of crap. That doesn't help anyone. So we will organize them into packages. So on that S-curve, we're going to start way out here in passive house land, where you're not going to do it. That's okay. But it's like going to the Chevy dealership, and we're going to drive the Corvette because it's fun, and then we're going to go home to Malibu. We all know that the minivan or the four-door is going to happen, but let's go have fun. But then we slice that down. That helps us understand what the total scope could be, and then we slice it down to the sweet spot. So like if we're trying to aim at that inflection point, what do we think it's going to take to deliver results without going nuts? And then we'll slice that down further to the budget. And depending on what budget you give us, it may be basically the same as sweet spot. It may be lower, but we don't know until we get there. But there will be 3 different packages. And within each one of those packages, we're going to give you, it's actually an ugly spreadsheet that we built. Like it is so not sexy what we come back with. But it's a spreadsheet that has, 5 columns really, but 4 main ones. So we'll give you work scopes, which is, this is what you need to do. So like 3.5 inches of closed cell spray foam on the roof deck for 1,450 square feet. And then reasoning for why that's in there. So this is going to give you moisture control, and we're going to air seal it, and we're getting a de-insulation. And then we'll give you 2 different prices for it. So the full-on contractor price, where we have a high likelihood of getting it done for that. And if there happens to be a DIY option, we'll show you what that is. Some items are going to be the same. Like spray foam, you're going to pay somebody to do it. It is what it is. We might give you a little bit of a range to expect, but it is what it is. So at the end, you have an idea of what's likely to solve problems, and then line items of all the stuff that it takes to solve those problems, along with prices. And then we come down to the budget line, and then we continue to show you even more. So there's a lot. And your reaction is normal. I'm losing people usually at this point. It's a lot to take. Don't push much past like 3 hours. You will lose people. It's hard. So, next I would talk about pricing of the CPP. So I'll quote a number, and at this point you need to have an idea of what you think it is. Are the clients difficult? Price it high. If the house is difficult, price it high. If it's easy, price it low. This is where you get your flexibility. If you have multiple HVAC systems, Michael, that's going to suck to model.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be complicated. It's going to be hard to figure out. So this is going to be a pretty high priced plan for a building like this. But this is not normal. You're
Yeah,
dealing
for
with
sure.
1,500 to 3,000 square foot houses. They're usually not nuts. They can be interesting, but they're not nuts. So you quote whatever price you think it is, and then I just leave them, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'll just leave you guys to discuss this. There's no pressure to do anything. If you want to, great. Oftentimes you will feel buying signals from people. So if you do feel buying signals, you can ask a soft question, which is like I don't want to assume, but do you guys want to get on the schedule? Because you don't want to push hard. But every time I've asked that question, I've read the signals correctly, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. But I'll let them discuss it and go take the blower door down, go load it in the car, come back, shake hands, and then they know there's a follow-up email coming the next day. And that's it. So that was an hour and 40 with commentary.
Yeah, and so I'm interested. I have a question on
Please.
if you think that because there was already rapport built, if that helped the process go faster, or also possibly because we weren't pushing or asking for solutions, if that helped it, because I feel like this is probably faster than it normally goes, and obviously we didn't do the blower door and stuff like that, but just curious, you know, if some of those things maybe contributed to the process being a little speedier.
Yes. Sometimes clients will go off on long rants, so you have to just kind of sit there. Okay. Question. All right. Next question. Grab control back and keep going. So sometimes you have that. Sometimes you want to tell a story. And yeah, I've already seen the building. So, and it's really unusual and really difficult. But cool.
Yeah.
So I get it. But yeah, this is faster. So also I wasn't going totally nuts. Sometimes I talk way too much in these, and I talk too much anyway. So be Columbo. Try and keep your mouth shut. Better than me. If you can't beat me, come on.
I mean, you did good. You weren't talking a lot of sciencey things. You were going through it all, and so, you know, it just popped into my mind as we were going through this last step on if part of that was accelerated because of the knowledge of everything and that we'd already met and are comfortable with each other, you know, and so.
Yes, that is part of it. So I oftentimes have to spend basically 10 or 15 minutes glad handing, getting the reluctant spouse to be sucked in enough to hang in there. So that's probably part of it. You guys understand the process. You've done it. So this is kind of cheating, but hopefully it's helpful because you got to actually watch it. And so did however many people we have on. It's weird not having a feedback loop. Does anybody have Ray said?
Yeah, that's
Honest and patient. There we go.
We're doing good.
I still love the couples counseling comment. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
that was funny.
But that's it. Like, we're just omitting the walking around, and at some point soon, my wife and I are just going to do it in our house. We'll show what zonal testing looks like and do infrared. You know, that it's not like. Hopefully, you guys understand. This isn't that incredibly complicated. It's long, but just read the script. Just follow it.
Plow through it.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And don't let people derail you.
yeah.
Sit down at the kitchen table. Don't talk solutions.
Yeah, I should have tried to throw some wrenches in there to make you solve them, but, you know.
What's VRF?
Should I use open cell or closed cell phone?
That's talking solutions. So actually, either one of those questions I would have slapped down. Like, so what did we agree to?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's funny. You'll actually watch spouses do it to each other. Like, honey, that's a solution.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Like, it's really weird. Like, they're like, pull them back. Like, it's really funny watching all this thing happen. You got a question for Matt?
So yeah, what point during the initial are you doing the blower door after what slide? So
That is after, I think, 8. It's the elephant and the rider is the last slide in the first part of it.
yeah. So and
Yeah.
the blower door comes after the long laundry list of questions. So we would have done that right before the prioritizing goals and budget discussion, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of in between, which is a good break, as Nate was saying, where you're kind of tired of sitting down like we are. So we
Right
probably need to finish this live stream soon. But the so it's a good breakup, and get up and move around, and you're also doing the house inspection at the same time as the blower door, Matt. And so and I don't know if it's a full-fledged in-depth inspection necessarily. All of this is to flesh out if there's a viable project. And so you're not there to get precise data. The blower door is used as a sales tool more than anything, or if there is enough pain. You're not doing a full-blown audit, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is about the first third of an audit is what it works out to be. But like traditional energy audits are sold for like $350 or $400. Doing this right is like 2 or 3 days work. You can't do that. Like, that's not a fair wage.
And you're also doing the part of the audit that requires the homeowner to be there, so
Yeah.
they don't necessarily have to be involved in the full-blown audit.
Nope.
And so that's another piece that I think is probably important to understand and realize. So you're doing the third of the audit that really requires the customer participation.
Yes.
The rest of it, you'd be gathering the data to create solutions.
Exactly. Yeah, 'cause, I mean the initial. This is where most of the action happens for gathering data from the clients, and the next step is gathering data about the house. And I'm pretty talkative, so I don't want the clients around if there's any way to kick them out. I try and ask. I'll tell them very gently, so I tend to talk a lot, so if you don't need to be around, that's fine. But if you do, that's fine too. I don't want them to feel awkward in their house. But the next big meeting is when you sit down with them and you go over the results, which usually takes about 2 hours, something like that. And every time it's a fire hose. So you're just open it up. I'm all right, you had enough? I'll go home. I'll see you in a couple weeks. And then you come back and you hit them again. And even when you present what the options are, you still aren't deciding what the project is anyway.
Right.
That's the whole goal of the presentation piece is just understand what options are. And the next meeting is when you decide, okay, what's the project actually going to be, or what are we going to get bids on? Because sometimes you're like, well, this will depend on the numbers. Well, let's get a bid and see how the numbers come back. And if it fits, let's do it. If it doesn't, well, we got to kick part of it or make another decision. But does that help? Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't
That's
see
what
I don't see any
okay.
other questions really. I think
Okay.
we're going to wrap it up.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Michael, for offering your house and your iPad.
Yeah.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.